about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. Tonight we're doing a movie review. Please hit that bell icon and hit the subscribe button first so you never miss an episode. So yes, today I am reviewing this film called The Commuter, starring Liam Neeson, and it says basically that it's a bare knuckle ride. See? A bare knuckle thrill ride. That's how it is expressed. But is it actually like that? You're going to find out in just a moment. Now, I've just finished watching this movie for the second time about 10 minutes ago. So if you do not want spoilers, please do not watch this live stream anymore, because you are going to get a lot of spoilers with this. I'm going to tell you all about the movie, the plot and everything. So yes, let's get started. Right, The Commuter. What can I say? An absolutely friggin' fantastic movie. As I'm asexual, personally, sex repulses me, nudity repulse. I like watching movies that got no sex in them and no nudity, and this doesn't have either of those in it. So I'm really, really happy to say this is suitable for asexuals who are sex repulsed or nudity repulsed. So this film starts off by this guy's character, Liam Neeson's character. It basically starts off with him, and he is he commutes every day by this train. And in his family life, sometimes he gets on really well with his wife, at other times they argue and fight. And their son is just about to go to further education, and it's really expensive, and they got to pay for his board and lodgings on top of the course, and they don't know where they're going to get the money from. And so anyway, when you see him commute, you see like them basically making out he's commuting all the time backwards and forwards. And this one particular time he goes into work. He's been working in this insurance firm for 10 years, and they fire him. Well, they make him redundant. So basically they give him a package for him to leave, and after 10 years he's absolutely devastated, because just like that they cut his job, gave him a package deal, out you go, that was it. He didn't have any say in it. And it seems really like, oh my god, what's he going to do now? And instead of him telling his wife, he doesn't tell his wife. So you feel there's a bit of uneasiness about that. Like, why doesn't he tell his wife if he loves his wife? But you've previously seen that sometimes they got on really well, sometimes they don't. And they're worried about money. And he says when they cut his job, basically make him redundant, that he's got like 2 mortgages. And obviously his son, they've got to pay for the further education. And, that the insurance company he's worked at for 10 years doesn't care. And I have to say, this is quite reflective of life. Do not ever rely on your employed job to basically be there forever these days. It just doesn't happen a lot of the time. That's why people look to make other money elsewhere, retrain, look at making money online, all this type of thing. So they aren't just having one skill set with one company, basically. And it just enhances your CV anyway if you've got other things on the go. So anyway, I'm digressing. So he's been in a position where he doesn't know when he's going to get the money from to pay for his son's education. He comes out of the office, doesn't tell his wife, but she basically thinks that everything's fine, and she's sent the checks off for the son's higher education, and he hasn't got, he's not going to have the money for it, basically. He's not going to have an income for it. So what happens is he gets on this train, but before he gets on this train, he sees this old colleague that he worked at, and you find out that he used to be an ex-police officer with NYPD, and this guy worked with him for 7 years. They used to be partners. And so this guy he worked with, he meets in this pub, and there's like some people in the background talking, that are coppers as well, police officers, and one of them's been promoted. And anyway, his partner's like, oh, let me help you out. And he's too proud and everything. He admits he's not told his wife. So anyway, he gets on this train to commute, which is a commute he usually does every day. And then this woman sits down opposite him, and he thinks she's trying to chat him up. But he says, I'm married. She goes, oh, I am too. And then she gives him this hypothetical question, which is what basically starts the whole movie off. And it's if someone asked you to do if someone asked you to do a small favor, a tiny little thing, if someone asked you to do a really small little thing, for 25, if someone asked you to do a small little thing, and it basically wouldn't affect you, and it would just be I can't remember the exact words she used, but basically she's asking him hypothetically if he would do this small thing, which basically, he's led to believe wouldn't affect him at all, or it's just finding, when he asks what it is, it's finding a passenger that's basically doesn't belong. And he's like, well, what's in it for me? And she's like, oh, there's 25 grand in a package in the toilet, and there's going to be £75 in cash to follow. So because he's strapped for cash, hasn't told about his wife about, the fact he's lost his job, he then does, she goes, I'm a psychologist and I tell what type of person what personality type someone has by the way they answer this question. Anyway, he asked what small thing, and she said all you've got to do is find out who stands out on the train, which shouldn't be too difficult for you because you're an ex-copper. And he's like, how do you know? And then she disappears, and then he decides to go in the toilet, and he does find the money. So basically he's accepted that this, and it wasn't actually hypothetical, it was real. But obviously there's a price to pay for that money, really a price to pay. And so you don't get anything like that for free. So basically it becomes very sinister. It turns very sinister. So what happens, right? So basically he has till X amount of stops to find out, I think it's Colston Hill, is it? Or Colston. Anyway, it's a stop at Colston. And he's got to find someone on the train before the train stops at Colston in order to get the rest of the money. But it's not just as simple as that, because what happens is while he's trying to look for these people, or this one person, someone tries to attack him. And so he knows this is not normal. And he basically gets attacked by this guy in one of the carriages, or in between the carriages, I think it is, if I remember. And then they're fighting, and he actually gets a bloody nose, and the other guy gets a bloody nose. But they both kind of go back to their own seats. And he finds out that his family is in danger. And he phones, he uses the phone to phone his, basically the police, and to get his family protected, the police department. And so he uses this, he knows these people on the train, some of them like friends. And one of the guys, he basically says, can you get my, he writes on this newspaper, that I need help, call the police because my family's in danger, which is how, he's asking for police protection. And this guy who he writes this on the newspaper, the phone rings again because he's borrowed someone's phone, and to make a call, to try and get his family protected. And anyway, when he hands the phone back to this guy, and then he sits down in front of this other guy that he's obviously known for quite some time, and writes on this newspaper, get help because I need protection for my family. Puts on the newspaper, and the guy gets off the train, but he's not. I forgot to tell you, he's not allowed off the train because the woman that he saw on the train sent a messenger, and in one of the stops, this messenger said, "Are you so and so?" And he said yes. And this messenger, which is a young kid, gave this message to him that his family is in danger and he can't get off the train now until he finds this person. So this is how his family has become in danger. So he was like, someone was trying to attack him on the train, and then he knows his family's in danger. So then he and basically on this note, it's like, well, you accepted the challenge. What did you expect? You got to finish it now because you basically accepted the hypothetical situation, which was a real situation. So basically, the moral of the story is there's a cost to pay if you want dirty money, basically. And so anyway, it is an absolutely amazing film. I mean, it's non-stop on the edge of your seat stuff. It really is good, and it's a bit like a whodunit because you don't know which passenger is actually this person he's looking for. It's someone called Prin, and Prin has some valuable evidence in a conspiracy. You find out later this guy committed suicide, but he didn't really commit suicide. And this person called Prin is a witness to it and has some evidence to prove it too. And so this person's on the train. So this woman wants him to kill Prin when he finds out who Prin is. And then his family's meant to be saved. That's what happens in theory, but obviously not in reality. That's not the actual intention. They just said that. And he finds that out later. So basically, while he's trying to find this Prin, he ends up having loads of people trying to kill him on the train, and dodgy circumstances and things happen, and basically he's being set up on the train. So he's got people killing him and being set up for other people's death on the train and stuff like that. It's really, really an amazing film. Honestly, I loved it. I really thought it was a really good psychological thriller, basically. I love psychological thrillers. And Liam Neeson is brilliant in this, really good. He's good at fighting as well. He's meant to be 60 years old in this. He's really good at fighting in it as well. I was really amazed. I really love this film. I would highly recommend watching it. It's a brilliant film. And so anyway, getting back, this guy with the newspaper that he's written this, please get help from the police. A guy's going across the road to get help from the police, and this phone rings, which is not his phone because he actually dropped his phone, left it somewhere. It's this guy on the train's phone that he borrowed earlier to try and get his family some help. And basically, this person rings again and says, "Oh, watch out of the window." And they literally get this guy knocked over by a bus because it's like they can't have that person being alive to help him because he's not allowed to get off the train, and they've potentially got his family hostage. And so anyway, there's various things that happen on the train, but obviously the first one is the major fight, and then he has other people trying to kill him. And the first person who tried to fight him later on, he's set up as being someone who's like, not good, and police come on the train looking for him, and basically there's a dead body. The guy who originally fought him, someone actually killed him on the train. He didn't kill him, someone else killed him and put him underneath the train. And when he hears his phone going off, he finds out where it is, because he's been looking for this black bag, which is meant to have the evidence in it for Prin. He doesn't know who Prin is. So he thought this guy might be the actual guy who's Prin, but he realised he wasn't because this guy tried to fight him. And he thought he was looking for Prin as well, because he basically said he was. But yeah, this guy they killed off, and he finds out that the other guy was an FBI agent. But they try and set him up for that death and they phone him again saying it's all your fault. You're the one who killed that person because you didn't do as you were told, basically, and try to find Prin. You've only got X amount of time left to find Prin. So anyway, there's other things that go on the train. There's a guy with a guitar, and the guy with the guitar tries to kill him because he thinks the guy with the guitar's Prin. He's not, but he turns out to be he also turns out to be looking for Prin, and it seems they've paid him money. And this guy with the guitar was the one who killed the FBI agent. They paid him to do that, and now they're trying to get out of him who Prin is. So the guy with the guitar and him have a massive fight. It goes on for absolutely ages. It's really clever the way it's done with the train movements. He ends up having his head out the window with a guitar strung across his neck, and there's loads of fighting, and it's really good camera angles. It's all the way down, like one's got an axe, one's got a gun, and they kind of swap over, and it's really good fight scenes. It's really, really clever the way they did it. I really liked, I'm not into violence in real life, but I mean, it was a very good fight scene. And so it's pretty incredible. And you know, all along he's trying to, like, he has to sit next to different people and talk to them, and they just think he's basically either a pervert or he's a psychopath himself, because he's exhibiting psychotic behavior, because he's going around going, oh, hi, you're getting off at such and such a place, Coalfield. Is it Coalfield or Colston? I can't remember what I said now. Anyway, getting off at this stop. But as soon as they got off this stop, you know, it's over and his family's supposed to be killed. So basically, he has to try and find everyone in Zone 7 that's going to end, Coalfield, I think it is, going to end at this stop. And, you know, basically, he can't get off the train and he has to question everyone he thinks might be a suspect. But he's not a police officer anymore. He's lost his job and he gave up police work like 7 years ago for his family. And so, you know, he's just acting like a madman and going around accusing people of different things, asking people what's in their bags, you know, trying to find out if they're a regular commuter or not. And so he has quite a few heated conversations with different people on there. You know, but he finds out one of the girls, she's got a black bag, but she's got IDs, stolen fake IDs basically for a boyfriend. And he's like, well, if your boyfriend loved you, he wouldn't ask you to do stuff like that. And there's a lot of stuff going on, you know. And he's just like, people just keep coming after him basically. And in the end as well, what happens in the end is the train driver basically gets killed and the train is heading for derailment. But before it goes for derailment, before the train driver actually died, just before that, he finds out who Prin is. And she confesses that the guy who committed suicide was basically, well, you find out later at the end of the film, was her cousin, but she just says she knew him and was doing her homework in his office. And she didn't want him to get into trouble, so she hid. And so she knew it wasn't a suicide. And basically, two people were coming after him, having a go at him and being like shouting at him and saying stuff to him. And they were looking for a certain thing. And he'd got this, like, it's like a hard drive, and they were after it. And because he wouldn't give it to them, they killed him. And she hid, and she got the actual item herself. And Liam Neeson, who plays the main character, was like, you know, well, why don't you tell the police? And she's like, well, they were police, the people who killed him. So he then knows, oh my God, I can't trust any of the police. And so basically he has to take the whole the whole of the passengers that are left on the train. He has to take them hostage in order to save his family, in order to protect this person called Prin, who he's found out who Prin is now. And because he can't trust the police officers, you know, he's basically, once the train's derailed, they had to separate the train, him and the kind of conductor. The conductor ended up blowing up, it being blown up in the other part, and Liam ended up getting on the train with the rest of the train part that's left, one carriage with the rest of the people, and that's actually been saved because it was stopped because eventually, because there's only one carriage, whereas the rest of the carriage that was separated blew up because it was coming at such high speed, and it was too weighty for the speed, so it went up in the air and blew up basically. So he's then with all the passengers, and he's like, but he won't let any of the passengers off when it derails at the end, because he's like, well, you can't trust the police. And as soon as the police get to Prin, this person called Prin, who you found out who it is later on, I know who it is at this point, the audience knows, but basically when they find out who Prin is, they're gonna, you know, the police officers are gonna kill them. And so he's trying to protect Prin in the end over his family, you could say. But anyway, and there's meant to be people coming to his family's house. He's meant to hear his family, like, wife go or get in the car, lock the door, and like, who are you? I don't know who you are, and stuff like this, because he says, oh, is my family safe? So he just basically hears these people coming around to our home, their home, but obviously he's not there. And so anyway, when the train's derailed, he won't let anyone off because he knows that he can't just let someone off like that. So anyway, eventually in the end, his colleague, who he used to work with years ago, gets on the train. This is where I'm going to tell you the ending. So if you don't want to know the ending, don't watch this bit, right? But anyway, so his colleague, who he trusted, who he's partners with for 7 years in the NYPD, comes on the train. And Prince said the story to in front of all the passengers to the main character Liam. Obviously, Liam's not called Liam in the commute. I call Michael actually in this. Our next called Michael. That's probably why I've blocked his name out. But I didn't. The guy wasn't good to me. But anyway, I digress. So in the end, they have to cover the whole train over with newspaper and stuff. And his ex-colleague does. Well, his colleague still works. Ex-colleague still works for the police force. It's him that doesn't work anymore, that's lost his job. So anyway, when Prim was saying about the police officers, the police officer said basically there's no such thing as holy. And so anyway, when his friend got on the train, he started talking to his friend. They were trying to. His friend was trying to reason with him, called Michael, on the, and basically, because this guy, police officer, ex partner of his, said, "Oh, nothing's holy." He knew that it was actually him because this guy, police officer, used the words that Prin overheard him saying to the cousin that was killed, and she's got the evidence of the conspiracy that her cousin knew about, which is why they killed him. So anyway, eventually he finds out it's his ex-mate, and yeah, he has to fight him on the train, and the guy's trying to find out who Prin is, and then everyone says they're all Prin, then everyone says no one's Prin, so they all cover up the person who is actually Prin, and apart from the Prin person themselves, and yeah, and so it's really, really good. They have this major fight, and eventually the actual other guy gets killed, the bad cop, and when he comes off the train, wounded, he ends up in the very end getting his job back, and the woman that originally gave him the challenge on the train, that was behind this whole setup and setting him up and going after Prin and everything, she was the one who was on the phone and originally gave him the challenge, if you like. He sits opposite her, and she's like, "Oh, what do you think's going to happen now?" Because he's meant to have lost his job and be basically a loser, and he's like, "Oh, he ends it by saying, 'Oh, I think I know what's going to happen now,' or something like that." And he shows her his badge, and he's got his job back on the NYPD. So, he's going to have enough money now, and he can put her behind bars. I think it's a really good storyline. But for a long, long time, I'm not going to tell you who Prin is. So you won't know who Prin is. Keep that bit a secret. So that's really good. And you won't exactly know who's going to try and kill him and stuff like that. So I want to give you some suspense. But honestly, it says it's sharp, smart, and thrilling. I honestly thought it was. I thought it was a really, really well-made film. It's all filmed on this train. It's only at the very end they get off it, and the very beginning. I mean, it must be like 5-10 minutes at the beginning and like 5-10 minutes at the end. The rest of it is all on the train, and it is some hair-raising stuff. I mean, literally, you don't expect to see the dead body hanging under the train, and he gets trapped under there with a dead body and has to try and get back on the train, and literally the train's going off without him. It's really, really kind of on your edge of your seat stuff. I mean, Liam Neeson in this is absolutely incredible. I think it's one of his best roles. I've got Taken 2 as well, which I haven't reviewed yet, I don't think. And I've seen Taken, the first one, but it's just he's good in that, but he's even better in this. I think this role really suits him. I really was convinced he was the person he said he was. I just thought he was so good in this. And there was a lot of good characters in this. The whole way it was done, the violence, although I don't like violence per se, in real life I don't like it, I hate it, but the way the violence was done was very, very clever, because the train's moving, and they're having to use a lot of smashed windows. They're having to use carriages, in between carriages, where he's fighting people, where other people on the train are oblivious, where he looks like he's a madman going up and down the carriages, trying to talk to people and bug people and find out what's in people's bags. And I just thought it was really, really cleverly done. I thought the whole thing was really, really cleverly done. Very good psychological thriller, all on the train. And you're really kind of gunning for him, thinking, come on, find out who Prin is, and you honestly don't know yourself for a long, long time. You don't know until he knows, basically. And I loved that, you know. So yeah, I'd highly recommend this film. Do watch it. There's lots of action, lots of thrilling moments, lots of suspense. Suspense is just throughout the whole movie. So it's like basically a psychological thriller. It's very intense, very full of suspense, and it's really, really well made. I really loved this movie. I didn't actually see the twist at the end where it's until it was coming, you know, until it was nearly the end, because I didn't realise that his ex-colleague was the one who set him up. When I watched it the second time, it seems a lot more obvious. But when I first watched it, I didn't have a clue. So that was really interesting, because you think that it's just all about Prin, that he's been trying to get hold of this Prin person. You don't really think it's anything to do with bent coppers until you find out very near the end, you know. So I thought it was really, really good. It makes a lot of sense why it would be him now, watching it a second time round. But anyway, really, really good movie. Don't forget to check it out. This is The Commuter with Liam Neeson. Really good movie. Please watch it. No sex, no nudity, but really good storyline. Really good thrill ride. On the edge of your seat, intense stuff, action thriller, you know, like suspense. Really, really good. There's drama thrown in, quite a lot of drama actually. But I'd label this as a psychological thriller slash action movie, I guess. But psychological thriller, that's what I put it as more than anything. But I don't know what they view it as. Strong violence, injury, detail. They don't really say. It was a certificate 15, by the way. Anyway, I hope you like this movie review. If you do, give it a thumbs up. But don't forget to share it with other people. Comment below if you've already seen it or you're going to see it. I love to know what you think. Hit the bell icon after you subscribed so you never miss an episode. I'll see you on the next video live stream. Lots of love. Take care. Bye. Bye.